Hi, and welcome to the Chapter 1 second video. The first video covered opening and closing, saving, enabling, recognizing objects, modifying a database in datasheet view, recognizing the design view objects and properties, adding records to a table, deleting records. Today we're going to start with database utilities. We will work with filters, we'll perform sorts, and we'll create a new blank database, as well as we will create a database from a template. So let's get started. Here we have the Access database main screen. It is the same database we used in video 1, which was about a video store. It has 4 tables, a query, it has 5 forms, a report, 1 macro, and modules we don't cover here. So as I mentioned in the last video, we will only be doing tables, queries, forms, reports, and some macro features. To get started on database utilities, let's go to File, you have 2 database utilities in your file info page: compact and repair a database, and encrypt and with a password. To compact and repair a database, what this does basically is, if your database has a lot of extra space being used but not really with data, for example, if you have a data type or a field set to 100 characters as the limit, but you only use about 50, consistently the other 50 character spaces being wasted, the database could repair that and compact it so that it only allows 50 characters. Other things it might do is it'll clean up your database for any deleted items which may still be sitting in your database, any type of objects which are not being used. If there's any errors in your database, it'll give you a few hints as to what to do, and it'll clean it up. Encrypt with password encrypts the entire database. It does not encrypt specific columns or rows. It encrypts the entire database so that when somebody tries to open a database, you will be asked for a password, or the person will be asked for a password. By encrypting a database, you are making sure that people who don't have access or shouldn't be accessing a database are not able to do so. Okay, so to compact and repair, as simple as clicking on compact and repair, and there you go. It has now compacted and repaired any potential issues in this database. The other one, if you go into Save As, you have the ability to back up a database. By clicking back up, you are making a copy of your current database, and you will have that as a something you can refer to at a later time to see up until that point what changes had been made and what new changes or revisions have been made after that point. When you back up a database, Access automatically gives it a name which includes the date that you are backing it up on. So if I want to back up this database, I'll go to Save As, so go to File, Save As, and here click on Backup Database, and then say Save As. Here you have the name of the database plus the date, which is today's date. I could save it anywhere on my computer to have it for future reference. Okay, now with regard to encrypting and to put a password in. To do that, you first need to open the database as in exclusive mode. Exclusive mode is when only you have access to the database. Nobody else at that time is in the database. Okay, so what we need to do is make sure that we are out of all objects, so no objects are open, and then go to File and say Close from here. If you close the database by clicking the Close button on the top right side, the check mark on the top right corner of your screen, you are Xing out of access. You don't want to get out of access. You only want to close this database. So go to File, Close. And now you are still in access. The only thing is that you don't have any database open. To open a database in exclusive mode, you go to File, you go to Open. You don't click on the database from the recent. What you'll need to do is go to Computer and browse to go to the database you're looking at encrypting. I know where I have my database saved, so I'll go right into it. There we go. And once I have it selected, and you can see I do have the backup database here as well. But once I do have it selected, I need to go and open in exclusive mode, which is right here. So select the database you want to open and then go down to the Open option and then say Open Exclusive. Okay, you will need to enable content. Now you can encrypt this password. Since no one else has access to go into it, only you do, so putting a password in is easier, or actually is possible only when you have it in exclusive mode. When you go into your file, info, click on encrypt, put in a password, remember what you put your password to, and then say OK. Encrypting with a block chipper is incompatible with row-level locking. Row-level locking will be ignored. As I mentioned, this only encrypts the entire database. It does not encrypt specific rows or columns. Okay, say OK to that. Now, I can close out of it again. So I'm going to go into File, close the database. Okay, and now let's open it. So go back into File, go to Open, and I can open it right from here. It asks me for a password. I type in my password, say OK, and then it'll give me access to the database. If you want to remove a password that you have entered, again, you must have it in exclusive mode before you can remove the password. So go File, close it first. So I'm closing out of this particular database, keeping access open. And now I'm going to open it again. So go File, Open. Remember, you must browse to open exclusively. Look for the database you are working with. Select it. Open it, select it, say Open Exclusive. Put in the password. OK. And now I have it open exclusive. I'm going to go File. And this time it says Decrypt. Give me the option to undo the encrypting I just entered. Decrypt. Again, I must enter the password and say OK. And now it does not have a password. So if I go into File, it gives me the option of putting a password in. So let's move on to the next part of this chapter here. That is printing. So normally you would not print a table or even a form would be more a on-screen type of thing. You would print, though, a report, right? But however, you may want to print a form sometime, a table at some point. I have here a table open, and if I want to print this table, it won't give me the option to print it here. However, if I go File, and I go into print. It gives me the print preview and print. So I'm going to go print preview. It pulls up a print preview ribbon. Whole bunch of options on how you might want to print it. You can set up your page. The page setup allows you to put margins in. It also gives you the landscape and portrait, the size of the print page you want, and a few other options based on the printer that you have attached to your computer. You can, from here, also move it to a file, a text file, or an Excel spreadsheet. However, once you're done what you need to do, you just close out of the print preview. Okay, to view things the way you want it, you can change to landscape, take a look at how it looks. Yeah, a few options here. You can also email it to somebody right from here if you have the email set up on your computer to automatically email from Access. Okay, if I wanted to print, which I don't at the moment because I don't have a printer attached, I could print right from here. Okay, so I'm going to close out of this. And I'm going to close out of my table as well. Now, to print a report, I'm going to open up the one report we have on categories. A report has a report view option, a layout view option, a design view option, and a print preview when you right-click on the tab. If you go to this, it gives you the same option as you had for the table. However, the difference is it has it right on your tab here. Okay, this is the report view. This is print preview. Again, you can do whatever you need to do right from the print preview ribbon, or you could just close out of it. And to close out of a tab, right-click and say close. If you have more than one tab open, let's open a couple of other objects. And now I have 3 tabs open. If you want to close just a tab, you say close. If you want to close all tabs that are open, you say close all. Okay. Now we're moving into working with filters. Working with filters, you have a few options to when you want to filter data in a table or in a form. So you can filter by selection. You can find an exact match to what you have selected. You can find everything that is anything but what you have selected, so everything other than what you have selected, and you can use selection by filter to find records containing a specific value. Okay, so to filter, we need to open up a table, or you could do it in a form. So let's do it with a table, for example. Now that I have a table, when I did not have my table open, my sort and filter group on the ribbon is grayed out. When I open a table here, I have these options. Filter by selection is what we're going to be looking at. Now, whatever you select will show up in your filter by selection. I have here my cursor in the record title for my record on Gone with the Wind, right? And if I go to selection right here, my sort and filter group, click on selection, it gives you a few options. Selection equals Gone with the Wind, does not equal Gone with the Wind, contains Gone with the Wind, does not contain Gone with the Wind. If I had to select just a word, I would select a word, and now if I went into my selection, it only takes that one word. So it says contains action, does not contain action, ends with action, does not end with action. Those are the different options you have to select with. For now, I'm just going to put my cursor in Gone with the Wind, any of these Gone with the Wind titles, and I go in here and I say equals Gone with the Wind. It pulls up only those records that have Gone with the Wind in the title. If I want to toggle, so meaning go filter and then unfilter without losing the filter that I've set up, I will click toggle. Now it's giving me all my records. I will go click on toggle filter again. It has my filter saved. It only saves the last filter that you performed. So the last filter that I performed was Gone with the Wind, which is saved here. I can toggle back and forth and that filter will remain unless I want to remove the filter, in which situation I'll go into advanced and say clear all filters. Now the toggle filter button is grayed out. Let's say I want to look for all ratings which are not 2. I'll go into does not equal to, the second filter option. It gives me every record that has anything but 2 for a rating. So it has 4, it has 1, it has ratings 4, 1, but not 2, right? So if I want to untoggle that, go back, and it now gives me everything. It's not filtered anymore. If I toggle it again, it shows me my filter results again. And then I untoggle. Notice what happens right here to this arrow when I toggle my filter. It shows me which of my fields I'm filtering by. And there again. I can add another filter. I don't need to keep that. I could actually keep that filter though. And now that I have this filter, maybe I want to filter within it and say I want to filter only the false, equal false. It now gives me within my filter, which was everything but 2, it now shows me only the false. I don't have to go through this long procedure to come to this result, but in some situations you might want to do it this way. So you know that you could do it. It'll now toggle between all and or only everything but the 2, and back to all and everything but the 2. Okay, oops, wait a minute here. 2s, 4s, and 2s and everything here. Okay, so I'm going to clear all filters here, and now have everything again. Okay, so as I said, it only saves the last filter that you perform. Now, the other filters we have here is less than or equal to 2, greater than or equal to 2, between. If I click between, it'll allow me to give a smallest and a largest. So I'm going to say anything, the smallest will be a 1 and the largest can be a 2. Say OK. What happens? It takes away the 4s. There's no 4. Sorry, I did it on the wrong one. I'm going to undo that, remove all filters, put my cursor in rating and do that again here. Go to between. I'm going to say, show me everything between rating 1 and 2. Say OK. It shows me anything 1 and 2. Of course, there could be more, but there's mainly 2s and 4s, so I don't have a 4. However, let's go back. Let's toggle into this. Make sure my cursor is in the right field. Go to my selection. Go to between. And let's say here, between 2 and 4. And say OK. Now if you notice, I have 2 and 4, and if there was anything in between, it would show me those in between as well. I'm closing out of that. So those are my filtering by selection. The other type of filtering which you need to know is the filter by form. Okay, I'm going to go into filter by form here and maybe show you an example. Let's go into advanced filters, and you have an option that says filter by form. Filter by form basically keeps your field headings or your field titles, and it allows you to filter based on everything within that field, as well as it allows you to put in comparisons like greater than or lesser than, and a few other options based on what you're looking for. It is very versatile and allows you to do a lot depending on the data type you have in each field. So I'm going to click on filter by form here. And now notice it takes away all of the records. However, they are saved. They are still behind. This is just giving you the opportunity to filter the data and get specifics. If I want to filter by a specific title, if I want only a specific title to show up, I will go filter by form and say I only want to show Vanilla Sky. I'll choose Vanilla Sky and toggle. It tells me my 14th record is Vanilla Sky. I can toggle back. I can go back into toggle here and it comes right back in, showing me that my filter is now on my title field. I can go back into advanced filter and go to filter by form. It takes me back to and allows me to filter with a different option. I don't no longer want Vanilla Sky. I can remove it from here, or I could go remove filter. So if I want to filter, say, by a director, a specific director, let's just say Rob Cohen, and we go toggle filter. It shows me all those movies that I have that are directed by Rob Cohen. And here you have your results. I can toggle that filter and I can clear all filters and go back into filter by form. And let's say I want to see all ratings that are greater than 2. And I toggle that. It shows me anything that's greater than 2 right here in my rating column. And then toggle back and forth. If I want to remove it, I can say clear. If I want to go and add a different filter, I can go filter by form here. Now notice down here you have the ability of adding more filters to the same information. So if I have anything that is greater than 2, and if I go to the or, right? So if it's greater than 2, so show it to me if it's greater than 2, or if the director is Vector Fleming. Okay, and now I go toggle. So now it's going to give me Vector Fleming, and anything that is greater than 2 for the rating. If you notice here, you have 4, 4, and I have 2, right? Not greater than 2, 2. So it's included that just because I had put 2 filters in. I had an or. So what Access is doing is looking for these 2 criteria. The first criteria it's going to look for is any rating that is more than 2. And the second criteria it's going to look for is if the director is Vector Fleming. In both situations, it's going to show you the results. Show you those records in your result. Toggle, and you've got all your data back. Nothing is lost. It's all right there. Go back in here, go to clear all filters. Nothing. Now you have no filter. You don't have the ability to undo or go back by toggling. So those are filters. You can also do the same thing with a form. So I'm going to close out of my movie table. No changes, and I'll open the form. Exactly the same way. So again, you have your advanced filters, and you can go into filter by form. It gives you the same options, but it shows it in a form format rather than a table format. I'm going to remove and say I want to search. I want to filter my data to show me only those movies that have Buddy as the star, right? And then I go toggle and look down here. You'll see if you have more than one, you'd see your results here. I'm going to toggle out of it. I can remove it, clear, go back, filter by form. This time maybe let's go into titles, and I will go Gone with the Wind. And then I could go or, and right here I could say rating and choose a rating of 4. And now go toggle, which is basically going to run the filters. And out of my 24 records, I have pulled 10 records. So to see which ones they are, you can scroll next record, Gone with the Wind, Gone with the Wind. This is not Gone with the Wind, but it has a greater than 2 rating, greater than 2, greater than 2, and all of the rest are being pulled because they have a greater than 2 rating. I'm going to toggle out of this and maybe even clear all filters and then close. Okay, what we're going to talk about next here is sorting. Sorting, as you know, you can sort alphabetically, ascending, descending, numerically, ascending, descending. Now how it works a little different when you sort. A sort lists records in a specific sequence. For example, records could be listed alphabetically or by ascending numerical order, as I mentioned. Access can sort records by multiple criteria, using the leftmost column as the first criteria. For this reason, it is important when you arrange your columns, you arrange it based on maybe a typical sort that you need from your data. Okay, so let's go in and maybe sort a table from one of these. I'm going to go, say, into our movies table again, and I will sort it, say, my first criteria can be directors. And if I want to sort more than one, first let's do one criteria. So it's as simple as right-clicking and saying sort A to Z or sort Z to A. Let's sort Z to A. We now have all our directors listed from Z to A. Go back here, change that, A to Z, right? That's basically sorting it as simple as that. Now, let's say I want to sort two of my fields. I can select both these fields and I can say, let's sort them ascending order. What's going to happen is it has got your leftmost column here, the stars, A, B, B, D, E, so alphabetized by the left column. This will then will be alphabetized within the left column criteria. Okay, so let's see if we have any duplicates. So we do have Mel Gibson here a few times, and if you notice, then Mel Gibson. Okay, well they look like they all have the same director, but then we have a R, right? So M, and then we have the R. It's still Mel Gibson, but it is alphabetizing it first by the star and then second by the director. I could reverse that. I'll select them both and then Z to A. Again, it's going to keep my left column, the leftmost column, as the main one. What if I want to actually have them alphabetized by director and then by star? I'll have to move my column. So I'll select a column and move it to the right of director. So I moved the star column to the right of director, and now first let's remove sort. So I'm going to select both these columns and remove the sort. The current sort is now removed. I will select them again, and I could right click or I could go right here and say ascending order. Now what it's doing, it's sorted my data by director and within director by star. Okay, as you know, you can sort any data, numerical data or text data, but it's not easy to sort something which has long text. So if I try to sort by description, that does not make sense, right? I could sort by title if I need to, but not by long text, which is usually explanations, instructions, text that is pretty like sentence format. Okay, I am now going to close out of this, so close. No need to save. I've closed that table. The last thing that we need to cover in chapter 1 is starting a new database. There are several instances when you might want to be able to create a blank database. For example, you may have information that is an Excel spreadsheet that you want to add, that you might want to import into a database. Using a blank database, you can import that structure and the information to a new database. Or you may be working on a project, maybe personal or work related, where you might have to start a new database. So I will first close access. I'm closing the database. I'm not closing access. Okay, I've closed out of the database. Going to File, and now you have New. By default, it gives you a new desktop database. I'm going to click on that, and here it asks you blank desktop database. It gives you a default name. You could change that. I'm going to change it to, say, let's say we're going to have animal shelter. If you're working in an animal shelter and you want to start a database for the animal shelter, you can start a new database, call it animal shelter, give it a place where you would like to save it. And I will just save it in here, say OK. It has now saved my animal shelter database to my C drive, documents, BCMP2 to 5, access videos. And then I will create. It's a blank, brand new database. It only has a empty table to get you started with. You don't need it, you can close it, you have nothing, you just have a blank database. You can now go in and create objects. We will be learning how to create objects in chapter 2. This is how you would create an object if you were doing it from scratch. You'd go into create, you'd say table, and it has created a table. Right click on the table. Right here, you can move to design view. Name the table. I'll call it animals and say OK. And here you start building your first table. Instead of the default ID, I will say animal record as my primary key. As you can see, this is my primary key field. I could leave it as auto number so I don't have to type it in every time. And then I move to my second field. My second field can be animal type. So is it a cat? Is it a dog? That's going to require me to have short text. I can say date of birth. And this, of course, since it's a date of birth, will need to be a date time. And so there we go. We can start building as we need fields in our table. I will now show you the datasheet view. So if I switch to datasheet view, it allows me to save it. I'll save my changes. And I have my new table here ready for me to insert data. So let's go with animal type here. I'm going to say dog. I'll say date of birth. I'll choose, since it's the date of birth option, it gives you that. Let's go back and just choose a date of birth. And that's my first record. Now, what you need to notice here is you have a little pencil icon in the selection column here. That pencil tells you you are now editing this record. As long as you are within this row, adding data to this record, that pencil will show there. As soon as you move to a new record, that pencil disappears, meaning that Access has now saved that information for you. If I want to add a new field, I'm going to go in here and add a field. I would like this field to be a short text because I want it to have the animal's name. So let's go short text and say we'll call it name. Or we'll say pet name. Okay. Similarly, if I want another field, and this time I want to have a yes/no field, and let's say I call it, I say health check. Has it had a health check or not? That's the name of my field. It's going to be a yes or no. If I check it off, it's yes. If it's unchecked, it is no. Once I start adding a new record, so let's say this one is a cat. We'll give it a date of birth. Give it a date of birth for sometime in 2019. Let's give it a name. Let's give the dog also a name. And there you go. It automatically gives each record a number, and then as you fill in data, you can keep adding what you need to. Okay. Now it's important that you go into design view if you want to look at the properties of each of these. Now my animal record was my my primary key, right? It has an auto number, so here is where it's showing me the primary key or the animal record properties right down here. If I put my cursor into animal type, I don't need animal type to have 255 characters. So I'm going to make that, how long can an animal name be? Not more than 15. Oh, sorry, an animal type name be. So 15, right? Let's say date of birth, that does not give me that option. Pet name, how long do you want? How many characters do you think a pet name can be? Again, not more than 20 characters. I'd be pretty surprised if somebody has a pet with a name longer than 20 characters, right? Health check is a yes/no, so it's as simple as yes/no. Again, whenever you make changes to your design view, you've got to save it, and it'll tell you that some data may be lost. The reason it gave me that that message, warning message, is because I changed character, data type field size from 255 to 15. So if I had any animals within my database that had more than 15 characters in the animal type field, it would shorten that to only allow for 15, which means I would lose any other characters in that field name. Okay, so that's how you would start a new database from scratch if you needed to. I'm going to close out of this, and I'm going to close out of Access as well. Okay. What are we doing next? Yep. So templates. There are thousands of templates on Access, as you can see. All I had to do is make sure that you are in Access, go to File, go to New, and here you have the option of choosing different categories of templates, right? Underneath here, I chose database. It gives me a bunch of different options for databases. If you know a template, so say I want to go customer and search for all templates that are customer related. It gives me a few options here. I say customer service. If I want to use a template for a customer service database, I will select it. It takes me to the template. It asks me then to give it a name. I will say customer service template and save it somewhere. So again, let's just save it to be CMP225. access, videos, save. Okay, so it's saved it now. If you notice here, it has changed it to the place where I saved it on my computer. I'm going to say create. Takes a few seconds to create a template. And once it's created, enable content and open up your navigation pane, look at the number of objects you have. However, these are all shortcuts. I'm going to change that by going into my navigation pane options right here, and I'm going to say I want to show all object types. So by object type, categorized by object type, and all access objects. Okay. Now, there are a whole bunch of tables and queries and forms. However, because this is a template, these are all empty. You can, once you know more about Access and the objects within Access, you can delete any of the extra objects within a template that you know you will never use. All you need to do is say we don't want the default filters. We'll click on filter, right click right here and say delete. So it'll tell you, are you sure you want to delete it? There you go. Similarly, overdue cases, open cases, you may want to keep some of these or you may not. So just for an example, I'm going to click on the one that I do not want to keep, go into my records and say delete and say yes. Deleted that, call, say delete, say yes. There you go. As simple as keeping what you want, getting rid of what you don't want. Okay, well that completes chapter 1. We have 2 videos for chapter 1. You can listen to it again and again and understand all of the features. Then once you are very familiar, I also suggest you go into MyLab IT and then go into the student resources folder, watch a few videos. It gives you good examples. You may want to go through the PowerPoint presentations. Once you're very familiar with all of the features within the chapter, go ahead and give the simulations a try. There's a training simulation in your student resources folder on MyLab IT, and once you've done that, you will be able to do the assessment simulation and the assessment grader. Okay, well, thank you. Bye-bye.